Saddleback open. Go ahead, Beth. You're asking for 9,600.
We are, yes. Well, first of all, I'd like to say thank you for your support in the past, and we hope that we can continue with your support this next season. We had a good season this year. I think quite a few factors were involved in that. First being Saddleback was open. Secondly is that we had about a 200% increase in Maine skiers that came up and skied for the day. I think due to COVID, they stayed in state this year instead of traveling. So that was great. We've got some new expenses upcoming for this season. We have to build new trail due to some of our trails being used for the Saddleback Solar site. And so those expenses are significant. We have to build 2 or 3 new bridges, plus maintain what we have for bridges within our 30-mile trail system. And so we do have some significant expenses upcoming this year. All of our profit will be rolled back into building trails for this year and maintaining trails. You know, I guess as far as the use of the trails, we saw about a 50% increase in folks in Rangeley using our trails center this season, which was great. For the past couple of years or the past few years, we've offered all school kids free season passes and free rental season. That's a value of about $200 per student. We also have 4 locals days that we offer for property owners and also residents. And people get free passes, free rentals on those days. So I guess that was it for my presentation.
Wonderful, thank you. Ethan, any comments, questions?
No.
Cindy?
Just a question. Nini, it looks like you kept your the same request as you have years before, without increasing. What were your requests from the plantations this year?
I don't. It has been similar. We've used that the formula that was, you know, designed for to split up costs between the plantations and Rangeley. We haven't changed that. So I think Sandy River is 1,500 and Dallas, I think, is around that. It's based on the formula anyway. We haven't changed that as either we've requested.
That's all I have.
Shelley? Shelley, can you unmute, please?
No,
Shelley?
I'm all set. I'm all set.
Okay. Is David in yet?
Yeah. Keep
Any
up.
questions for the cross-country skiing?
No, just keep up the good work.
I concur. Joe, anything from you?
No questions, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Okay. Again, remember, I can only see 9. If there are any questions from the public, start off with Mr. Chair. Oh. Okay, hearing none. Thank you very much. I just want to remind everybody, we have 21 of these to go through. We've completed 1. I'm going to hold everybody to just a couple of minutes, and we will get to you with more questions, I'm sure, if need be. Next up is Rangeley Lakes Heritage Trust Milfoil Prevention for $12,000. Who's speaking?
Hi, Mr. Chair. It's Amanda Liberty representing the Rangeley Lakes Heritage Trust.
Good afternoon.
For a number of years now, I think at least the last 7, we've requested $12,000 from the town of Rangeley. We use the same equation that Beth uses at the Trail Center for our plantation requests. I believe that we request $4,500 from Rangeley Plantation, $1,500 from Sandy River, and $3,500 from Dallas. Our Headwaters Lake Protection program, for those who aren't familiar with it, involves three different kind of branches, one being courtesy boat inspections. It's certainly the most public branch of our education program. Last year, we inspected over 3,300 boats. It was a record. We've really upped our game in the last 2 years using a survey that's digital. That way we can feed it right to an ArcGIS map, see where we're really getting the most bang for our bucks with our courtesy boat inspectors. This last year, we also got the state of Maine to realize the importance of some of the other put-ins, especially on the rivers, like Kennebago has Steep Bank Pool, and we were able to do courtesy boat inspections over there. So are there any questions about our requests?
Thank you for your presentation. We'll start off with Cindy.
I have nothing. Thank you, Amanda.
Ethan,
Nope, sounds good to me.
David,
Keep up the good work.
Shelley.
All set.
Let me ask you a question. Did you catch any milfoil or any aquatic invasive species coming into the Rangeley area with your boat inspections?
So in 2019, we had 16 plants that we pulled off of boats that were either coming in or out of our lakes. None of them were deemed invasive, one of those dirty 11 plants that we really do not want, but that's not to say that they were native to our lakes. What's concerning is that this last season, just like the ski center saw that big boom, we pulled 46 plants from boats either entering or exiting our lakes. And again, we were very lucky that none of them were milfoil or hydrilla, but that's 46 plants that we caught. I think one of the biggest parts of this program is trying to educate boaters to check their stuff no matter where they put in or take out, and then even getting them to really think about each of us that have shorefront homes, that each of our front yards are kind of put-ins and takeouts as well. So
Thank you very much. Okay,
Thank you.
anything? Thank you. Anything from the public? Okay, thank you. Next up, Joe, do you have anything?
No, Mr. Chairman, thank you.
Very good. Appreciate it. Appreciate the report. Next up is Rangeley Family Medicine, $1,500. Anybody here for Rangeley Family Medicine? Hearing none. Next up, Maine Forestry Museum, $2,000.
Hi, hi, Mr. Chair. My name's Sharon Steer, and I'm representing the request for the Maine Forestry Museum. We're asking for $2,000, which is the same amount as we asked for last year. It's to help with expenses for the logging festival and parade that we have planned for July 17th.
Thank you. Questions from the board? Ethan,
All set.
Shelley,
All set.
Cindy,
I'm all set too.
David,
All set.
Joe,
No questions. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
anything from the public? Thank you very much for your presentation. Next up is Ranger Lake Snowmobile Club.
Hello, Mr. Chair. On behalf of the Ranger Lake Snowmobile Club, we are asking the town of Rangeley for a $50,000 donation to help groom and maintain our trail system. We have the highest traffic count in the state of Maine, and we are also the largest snowmobile club in the state of Maine. Thank you.
Very good. Okay, let's start off with Ethan.
No, I'm good.
David,
All set.
Cindy,
I'm good as well.
Shelley,
All set.
Joe,
I'm all set, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
how about the public? Any questions for the Ranger Lake Snowmobile Club, the #1 snowmobile club in the state of Maine? I want to thank you all for all the hard work you do. I know firsthand what it's like. We do a tiny bit of grooming with you. I'm very happy for everything that you do. Thank you for your presentation. Next up is the Chamber of Commerce.
Yeah, hi, just a couple of things. I looked at the total taxable sales in Rangeley for 2020. And maybe somewhat surprisingly during COVID, the sales were up 16.03%. That's total taxable sales. The non-surprising part was that lodging was up and restaurants were down. So lodging was up 13.39%. Restaurants, which were closed for a fair amount of time and then limited, were down 7.15. So I think the takeaway is that we attracted people in droves, as most of you know, during a time when many places suffered badly. So I'd like to think that's because we put ourselves out there via the advertising we do, which is what we asked for this money for.
Thank you. Is that all of it?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Remember, we're Zooming, so I need to hear from you. I can't tell. Ethan, any questions?
No, sir.
Cindy?
Just a comment, thanking Karen for the charts that she did and that were emailed out. It's appreciated.
Sorry they were late.
I'm all set.
Thank you, Cindy. Shelley?
All set.
David?
All set.
Joe?
All set, thank you.
Anything from the public regarding the Chamber of Commerce? Okay, thank you, Karen. Appreciate it. Nice job. Rangeley Public Library, $43,029.
Hey, good afternoon, everybody. This is Barbara Burgess, Treasurer for the Library Association. As you know, it's a 501c3 nonprofit. The library is asking the town of Rangeley for $43,029, the same amount that has been for the past 5 years, with the exception of last year when we reduced it by 25% because we were able to get a PPP loan. We're looking again at raising nearly 60% of the operating budget for the library, with only slightly over 40% coming from the town and plantations. And the amount that we request is based on a 50-50 weighting of the population and the property valuation for the town and plantations. So any questions, I'd be happy to answer them for you.
Thank you, Barbara. Ethan?
No, I think Barbara's information was very detailed, so it doesn't leave much to question.
Appreciate that. Shelley?
All set.
Cindy?
No, just a lot of gratitude for the library and all they do for the community.
Thank you.
Thanks, Babs.
David?
All set.
Okay, Joe?
All set, thank you.
Thank you. Anything from the public? Thank you, Barbara. Appreciate all the work you do.
Thank you.
Rangeley Health and Wellness, $21,332. Nobody's here from the health. Next up is Lifelight Foundation, 2,000. Okay. Next up is WRGY, $4,750. Next up is AWAP for $750. Moving right along, RFA, $10,000.
Mr. Chairman, this is Valerie Zapolsky from the RFA.
Hello,
So,
Val.
hi. So we've asked for $10,000 from the town of Rangeley for the past, I think, 3 years. So this I think will be the 4th year. And we asked $1,500 from each of the plantations. They don't all pay, but we do ask. And it supports it's only for the after school program, which is free to all students of the Rangeley region. Because of this past year, we're closed when schools close. So we've been operating with decreased number of hours, but then again, we didn't, because of COVID, we had difficulty hiring anybody. So we've been operating for the past 2 or 3 months with just volunteers, and even those are hard to come by. What it has been good for is because we're not paying people, because I can't find anybody to hire. We've been able to spend more money on supplies. So the kids are actually having a lot of fun with us in the past that we haven't been able to afford in the past. So that's been great. So yes, we're asking for the same amount, and we anticipate that pays for, between the towns and Rangeley, it's about half the budget. The rest comes from the RFA.
Thank you. David, any comments, questions?
Good cause.
Very
Good job.
Cindy?
No, I appreciate the full disclosure, Val, and, keep up the good work.
Shelley?
All set.
Thank you. Ethan?
Oh, sounds good.
How about you, Joe?
I'm all set, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Okay, anything from the public for the RFA? Very valuable association. Thank you very much, Val. Next up is the Red Cross for $1,000. Maine Public Radio for 100. Community Concepts, 2,000. Moving right along. Seniors Plus, 3,000.
Mr. Chairman, Lori Johnson, Seniors Plus.
Welcome.
Thank you. So my name is Lori Johnson. I am the Community Services Director at Seniors Plus. We are your local area agency on aging, and we cover Franklin County, Oxford County, and Androscoggin County. Our mission is to keep people in their homes for as long as possible, as safely as possible, by doing a variety, providing a lot of services and programs. We're requesting $3,000 for services that we provided to 9 Rangeley residents last year. The services we provide are like Meals on Wheels is probably the most well-known. We provide Medicare counseling, information and assistance, which just means people call us, they want to know what resources are available to them, and we're able to connect them to those resources if they exist. We have a Money Minders program, which is just a program that helps people with their bill paying process every month. We have a respite program for people that are caregiving for somebody that has a form of dementia. We provide a lot of educational opportunities, evidence-based programs, and help people enroll in different benefits, state benefits that they might be eligible for, and also help people access the long-term care system. So we do a lot of different things. And as you guys are all pretty aware of, is we're the oldest state in the nation, and the need for these services are increasing, and our funding from the federal level decreases every single year, unfortunately. So a lot of the federal monies that we require, they need community buy-in, and that's why we go to different towns and request funding. Everything we do for free for the people that we support. So the contributions from towns help us do what we do and keep doing what we do. So we appreciate the consideration, and I'm happy to answer any questions anybody has.
Thank you. Your program is very well received. We'll start off with Cindy.
Yeah, thank you for the information. Do you request funds from Rangeley, Sandy River, or Dallas Plantation?
We do.
And so the 9 Rangeley, the 9 folks that you served were Rangeley, or are they Rangeley area people?
We served 49 Rangeley residents, specific Rangeley residents, not plantation residents.
Okay, thank you.
Shelley.
All set.
Ethan.
What's that?
David.
All set.
Thank you, Joe.
I'm all set. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, in your quest to service these counties that you mentioned, Are all organized towns approached?
Yes. If we've served residents in their community, then we request, of course. Yeah.
Appreciate that. Appreciate it. Any other questions from the public? Thank you, Lori.
All right. Thank you.
Quasta KTV Club for 2,000. Okay. Sexual assault prevention, $750.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My name is Caitlin Hartman. I am the sexual assault response team coordinator for Franklin County with Sexual Assault Prevention and Response Services. Just wanted to start out by thanking you for your past support. Sexual Assault Prevention and Response Services. All money that is raised in Franklin County stays within Franklin County, and without your support, receiving the community of Rangeley would not be receiving the services that SAPRS is able to offer. We offer school-based prevention programs, support groups, hospital accompaniments. We have a 24-hour helpline for survivors to contact anytime. We accompany survivors to hospitals, law enforcement stations, and through the court system, as well as provide community education and one-on-one support and advocacy. We're requesting $750. And despite the ongoing pandemic, we have also been still providing services for community members throughout Franklin County.
Thank you very much. Selectman Ethan Schaefer, any questions?
No, sounds like a good program.
Cindy,
No, thank you for all the information.
Shelley,
All set.
David,
All set.
Joe?
All set. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, I lost you. You were there, but I don't see anymore. Thank you for the presentation. You say all the money stays in Franklin County. How do you manage that? I'm curious.
What do you, could you elaborate?
Well, I mean, you obviously serve more than just Franklin County, or do you just serve Franklin County?
No, we serve also Oxford and Androscoggin County, but all the money that we raise in Franklin County, that stays in Franklin County.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Presentation. Next up is Tri-County for $500. Okay. Western Maine Transportation, $531. Tough year for making it up to Rangeley.
Mr. Chairman, stand by. I can see he was in the meeting and he's now in the waiting room, so I'm going to let him back in.
Okay. Is this for the transportation, Western Maine Transportation?
Correct. Yep, I just let him back in the room. His name is Craig. There he is.
Good evening. Sorry about that. Nothing like your ISP deciding to take a dinner break when you're trying to get on a conference. I'm Craig Zerhurst, Community Relations Director for Western Maine Transportation Services. We're a first-time requester. And to the town of Rangeley, we provide the second Tuesday of the month service between Farmington and Rangeley. This past year, even in the middle of the pandemic, we served 14 residents. The year before, 55 residents, and we're looking forward to coming back and doing even more. The service is running now, but we have to have a minimum of 4 people scheduled to run the route, but it's been very popular in the past. And again, it's every second Tuesday. That came out of a study that we did as part of a grant from the Maine Community Foundation in association with with the Rangeley Health and Wellness and with Rangeley Health and with Seniors Plus. Any grant that we would get from the town is matched 1-for-1 by federal dollars, or at least be eligible for it. I say at least because depending on how the formulas match up, it may be more. Currently, we're asking for 46 cents per resident, according to the 2019 census. Per total of $531, and we'd be grateful for anything that you could provide since we are working without county funding for the last 2 years. And that's what we're trying to get restored, but it hasn't come back yet.
Thank you for your presentation. Ethan?
Just a comment, I'm happy that there's some sort of public transportation being offered again in our rural area.
Thank you. Shelley?
All set.
Cindy?
All set.
David?
All set. I agree with Ethan.
Yep. Happy for the service as well. My comments are this. If you want to see county funding, support getting 5 county commissioners so Northern Franklin County is represented appropriately. Thank you,
I
sir.
will just allow me to offer that Clyde is representing you all very well, and we understand the import of that. Unfortunately, because we're serving 3 counties, we can't get too involved, but we understand the message.
Have a nice day. Rangeley
Thank you all
Housing,
so much.
7,500. No application was initially received. A letter of request came in on the 18th. Is there a representative? Joe, did you want to speak to this?
I can, Mr. Chair. As you noted, the item came in on the 18th of March. It is not on your draft warrant. So if the board is inclined, you would have to recognize it and put it on your warrant this evening in your regular meeting.
Okay. Just, I don't remember seeing that on the agenda items. Is it there, Joe?
It is not listed, Mr. Chairman, no.
All right, can we put that as an adjustment to the agenda and get it on there?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Any questions, Joe, Cindy, Shelley, anybody? No. Shelley?
Nope. All set.
Okay, Ethan?
All set.
David?
All set.
Very good. Everybody go on mute to that echo. See if we can figure out what's going on with that echo. Can you hear it, Joe?
I do hear it, Mr. Chairman. I'm
Yeah.
trying to pinpoint where it's coming from.
All right, yeah, figured it out. Next up, we're going to review the first draft of the warrant articles. Before we get going on all of that, there's 2 articles that we need to have a little definition on, if you will, a description. First off, it's been requested that we combine downtown revitalization and economic development reserve accounts. The Board of Selectmen have discussed this, and correct me if I'm wrong, Joe, that we have agreed that that's a good idea.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, you have actually voted to do it. In my review of the warrant before it came to you, I did not catch that it wasn't in the draft warrant. So it's just a matter of voting at your meeting following this hearing to place it on the warrant. I thought it was important, Mr. Chair, as you know, that this came up during the public hearing so that the public knows there were a couple of articles that you were contemplating having on the warrant that you will need to vote to take action on in your regular meeting.
Okay, Joe, where is one on our meeting tonight? I don't see that either.
That comes under item 7. It's actually the first item under first.
Okay, got it.
Item 7,
Very
yep.
good. Make sure. Same thing with the broadband. There's going to be descriptive vocabulary about broadband and how we're going to participate in an interlocal agreement, correct?
That is correct, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. let me hear from the board. Do you want me to read everything for that's on our articles? Or do you want to make comments on what you feel we need to discuss before we go any farther? Cindy?
Probably these sheets, Steve, that we got, the color coded ones, that indicate the percentage increase or percentage decrease might be helpful for each category. Just so folks who couldn't zoom into this meeting can hear the information and at a later date and follow up, be my suggestion.
Okay. Cindy, why don't you take this section that you're talking about, because mine is on the computer and I have to try to turn and catch all of it because it's the, I'm going to be looking at it like this.
Okay.
Communication is wonderful, but sometimes it's difficult to.
Do you want me to go ahead and start, or do you?
Yep.
Okay. All right, so we're going to start off with the selectmen. That budget line is up 12.66%. And that's because of FICA and workers' compensation, as well as the broadband costs that are going to be associated with the legal aspects of that. Administration is up 4.52%. What the selectmen have voted on is a 2.3% salary increase. And that is the 1.3 COLA and a 1% merit raise for the coming year. Increase in health insurance, office supplies, and internet and phone service, an increase of 4.52%. Assessing is a contract service. I believe we're at year 3 and we'll be putting an RFP out for assessing services. The increase in that is 0.73%. And that had to do with a new computer that was needed for the assessors to do their work. For finance, it's up 3.68%, again, reflecting the 2.3% salary increase, the health insurance increase. There was a need to purchase a new computer and an increase in utilities regarding telephone and internet. 3.68% increase. For planning, that is up 17.82%. And the main reason for that is that the board has approved the hiring of a part-time deputy code enforcement officer position. It's in our town ordinance. And given the boom that we're seeing in Rangeley as far as real estate sales, building, we want to make sure that Bailey has the support she needs so she can turn over those permits in a timely manner. And office supplies, yeah, but mainly it's that part-time position. Town office building is up 36.47%. Let's see why. Overall increase, all repair and maintenance for the town office computers are now budgeted into the town office building. So in previous years, each department had their own line item for repair and maintenance for computers. And it was suggested that since we've got, one company that comes in and does that for us, that it be that cost be centralized in the town office building budget area. Public safety building is down 2.1%. And that is due to the debt interest being lower this year. And that vote covers that. For the town clerk position, that is decreased by 6.30%. Just a decrease in fringe benefits and repair and maintenance. Property and casualty insurance, all of our insurance is lumped into this one category. We started this 2 years ago. That is up 7%. We have a new category for tax increment financing, also referred as TIF, which you've seen. We've tried to get the word out on, and there was a special town vote on that last month, and it did pass. So we're looking at $1,500 in training costs, and that would be for staff that need to implement the different accounting procedures that are aligned with tax increment financing for contract services and for advertising. So that's a brand new budget line. Fire rescue has decreased by 12.06%. And that is the decrease in the debt principal and the decrease in fringe benefits. This does include the part-time, it does include the full-time firefighter position, as well as the first responders. Decrease 12.06. Police department is down 2.86%. We're currently in salary negotiations with the union, but at this point, due to a decrease in fringe benefits and supplies, that is decreased by 2.86%. Do we want to pause for questions? Or do you want me just to keep going?
Keep right on going, Cindy. Thank you.
Okay, all right. Animal control, that is up 10.34%. It's an increase. We decided to increase the compensation for the animal control officer from $1,500 to $2,000. And there's an increase in fringe benefits because of that. So an increase, it's a small budget. So the 10.34% is $524. For EMS, that's also a contract service. And we've got a increase of 3.20%. For the fire hydrant, this is a contract service with the local water district, and we are not anticipating an increase this year. So that stays at $146,295. We have a health officer who's, the health officer isn't a new position. We did, however, the Board of Selectmen voted to assess or to assign a stipend or a compensation for this for $2,660 this year. It's been a very needed, active position. She's been very responsive to emails, phone calls, as well as the public service announcements. And so that there's no increase or decrease. It's a $3,869. Actually, it's an increase because there was no separate department for health officer last year. For highway, we've got an increase of 1.67%. Again, we are in the union negotiations with the highway department. The largest increase is with contract services, and that would be for engineering services for upcoming projects. So it went from 4,000 to 16,500 in this year's budget. Sewer department, a decrease of 1.32%. Again, there are certain personnel in the sewer department that are a part of the union negotiations, and so the salaries and fringe benefits have not been set. Solid waste transfer station, that is up 5.79%, reflecting the 2.3% increase in wages, a slight increase in testing, monitoring, and licensing, And, the biggest increase are the tipping fees and transportation for, just getting our municipal solid waste and the OSW down the hill to the landfill. Airport, a decrease of 1.30%. And yes, that's a decrease of $553. Parks and Rec, a decrease of 0.26%. Let's see here.
FICA, Medicare.
Yeah, thank you. Public Services Director, an increase of 3.14%. There is, again, the 2.3% salary increase. And with that, the benefits as well. Cemetery Department, an increase of 38.76%. The biggest reason for that increase is the infrastructure, the routine road maintenance and buildings. So for the current fiscal year, that was budgeted at $3,150. And this year's budget is $17,550 primarily for the stumping of the trees. If you drive by, you see that there are areas that were cleared and a number of tree stumps that need to be removed. Rangeley Comfort Station, decrease of 0.52%. And that's just a general decrease in operating supplies. Aquatic Comfort Station, a decrease of 0.66%, and that is in the what's expected to be spent for utilities. For culture, we've got a decrease of 3.98%. The biggest reason for that decrease is we had raised $8,000 last year for fireworks that was never spent. So we're carrying forward that $8,000 and not raising it for the fiscal year ending 2022. General assistance holds the line at $2,000. It's been at $2,000 for as long as I can remember, and that has never been maxed out. Our donations as they currently exist are up 8.01%. That is without the meal site. For a total of $216,842.
Thank
Keep
you.
going and yeah.
Thank you. Any question, Joe, let me get you on the line first. I can't see the whole board. Do we have a lot of public out there?
You are down to 21 total participants. You have staff, municipal staff, the budget committee is in the room. It looks like there are a few members of the public here, a handful.
Okay, we'll start comments and changes or questions from Shelley.
I'm all set.
Ethan?
No, I'm all set.
David? Did I lose you, David?
All set.
Thank you. Cindy, thank you. Do you have any questions or concerns with anything that we've proposed so far?
No.
Okay, thanks again, Cindy. I have a kink in my neck. I read it all with you. Appreciate it. Good commentary. Joe, anything you want to add to this?
No, I think that was a good presentation. The only two sheets remaining that I'm sure you're aware of are the, hang on a second, I've got to push mute here somewhere. The only two sheets that were remaining were capital purchases and transfers out in that presentation.
Capital purchases are, go ahead, Joe, with the capital purchases. Again, I'm reading sideways here, but go ahead.
Okay. There's an overall increase mainly due to the road loan payment this year. That's, I'm colorblind, so it's hard for me to read in the red, but it's 282,478. That's for the new loan on the road payments. Equipment, there's a $50,600 raise and appropriate item, and then 10,000 for infrastructure for the broom attachment for the loader at the airport. That'll be shared between highway and the airport. So overall, there's an increase here of 337,678 in capital purchases.
And next is the transfer out capital reserve. And we've got to change, again, this has been brought up a couple times. Please be aware that they're not calling it rat van anymore. This is a community health ride, and they've been requesting me to get stuff off there for a while, so. Go ahead, Joe.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair. I made a note of that. This item deals with the reserve accounts, and the select board had some in-depth discussion during the budget season with the budget committee. And the plan is to shift some of the funds from the airport reserve into these selected accounts. So the overall framework of your reserves is down 210,000 over last year, over the year we're in, rather. So there's a decrease there, but the intent is to use money from the airport reserve to fund those items.
Questions from the board? Cindy?
No, I don't have any questions.
Okay, Shelley?
So I have a question. The money is not supposed to be considered an airport reserve, right?
Well, that's where it's being kept at the moment.
So should we park that somewhere else? Because aren't we getting, like, for example, the broom attachment for the airport? I didn't realize that that was for the airport and the highway to share. I was under the impression that if we were to buy anything, that the airport wouldn't allow us to use it for public works for as an all. Does that make sense?
No.
Because we were looking at one time about buying a plow truck or having something there and using funds from them, and I know this was a while back, but then we weren't able to do that because of the regulations, because of the FAA money.
Rebecca, comments?
So the FAA in the beginning stated that the money that was appropriate, or not appropriated, the money that was created from the use of the town materials was specifically supposed to be in the airport reserve. Then they went back and changed their mind. Only a portion of it had to stay in the airport reserve. The reason why it's all in the airport reserve as of right now is the project is not closed out. And until it is, it should remain there only because of invoices. The project hopefully will be closed out within the next month.
Shelley, did that answer your questions?
Not really, because if we're taking stuff out of the airport reserve, aren't we like mixing the money? You know what I mean? Like, so that money is in the airport reserve, but it's not supposed to be in the airport reserve. But we're moving it out of there for a different reason other than the airport reserve. That's what I don't understand.
I'll speak to that.
Let's go to Joe.
Sorry.
Let's go to Joe for 1 second. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. A couple of things will take place before any money is spent from the airport reserve. Number one, as Rebecca commented on, we're working on the final closeout of the airport expansion project. So that's number one. We've got to close that out. And until that's done, I agree with her. We don't want to move any of that money. Number two, this is something that Rebecca and I have discussed with the auditor. We want to make sure that we've worked with them before we move any of this money also. So those two things would happen. This money in the budget, just as a reminder, Mr. Chairman, we wouldn't be doing anything with any of this before July 1. So we've got almost 3 months before we would do any of this, meaning spending any airport money.
You had another comment, Rebecca?
No, he answered it beautifully.
Shelley, are you all set now?
I thought that the FAA agreed that that wasn't in airport reserve money. So I guess I don't understand.
Can I speak to that, Shelley? I'll try to
Go
do my
ahead.
best to help you out.
Yes,
Okay.
As I recall, when we figured out that we could use this money for things other than the airport, we kicked around where to put it, and it was suggested by Selectman Burgess that we just leave it in that account, and I think we all concurred after talking about it for a while. It wasn't that we were going to leave the money in there for the airport. It just needed to stay somewhere anyways until all the invoices were in and paid for in case something unforeseen happened. So once those invoices are all cleared up, then the money can be moved someplace else that we figure out is the appropriate spot for it, so we can spend it on town projects. That sound about right, Steve?
Yep, pretty close. Go ahead, Joe.
I agree with what Selectman Schaefer had said.
Okay, Cindy?
I think the point that's being missed was that our fund balance policy identifies 4 or 5 categories of town money or classifications of town funds. And the Chick Hill funds originally, just like Rebecca said, they were assigned or restricted. Actually, they were restricted funds. And the board was presented with that summary in November of 2019, that 30,000 were restricted funds that needed to go into the airport reserve account. The FAA letter that Shelley's alluding to that we received in January of 2019 re-identified those funds as unassigned or unrestricted funds, and therefore they don't belong in a reserve account. Our policy, our budget policy, okay, this is something, that complements the fund balance policy, but a budget process identifies that funds that are allocated to any reserve account are either assigned, restricted, or I don't know if I use that same word, or voted on at town meeting. So just for the sake of keeping unassigned funds in a reserve account because we feel like it violates 2 policies.
Thank you, Cindy. I don't think this is a question of leaving it in there because we feel like it's a question of leaving it in until the account is closed out. And then it can be
Yeah, policies are policies, Steve. Once we got that letter indicating those funds were unassigned, that became property of the inhabitants of the town of Rangeley.
Yep, no question about that. I think it's a question of finishing the project, that's all, and making sure that we have the funds to do it.
Well, we've had so much money in the airport reserve account, we just loaned a town $300,000.
No, we didn't loan them 300,000. They used the money that the FAA has designated for us and applying it over there. That does not reside in our account. Is that correct, Rebecca?
That is correct. That has nothing to do with money that's in our reserve. That is our allocation the FAA has for us. We don't hold on to that. The federal government holds on to that money.
So relative to the policy discussion, I think this warrants some more discussion. Cindy, what's your recommendation relative to meeting the requirements of policies as you see it?
The amount that was identified by the FAA as unassigned or unrestricted needs to be transferred out of the reserve because it hasn't been, it's not, they're not restricted funds. It's not been voted on by the inhabitants of the town of Rangeley to keep them in there. And frankly, as part of our financial planning and whatnot, we can't do anything with that money while it's in a reserve account. It doesn't even, like I said, it was put in there correctly initially, and then it doesn't belong there. Plus
Okay.
interest.
No disagreement with you there. Where does it belong so we can still pay off the airport?
The general fund. It belongs in the general fund.
Joe, what's your thoughts on this, please?
I think, I think everybody's right. I think we need to put something together and bring it back to your meeting on the 20th.
Sounds good to me. How about you, Shelley?
Yeah, because I just had a question. If we have it in the airport reserve and we're using some of those funds this year in the budget to keep the taxes down, we would have to take that to the voters, right? If we're moving money out of a reserve, wouldn't we have to get permission from the voters to move that money according to our fund balance policy? I just don't want the money to be trapped for another year or having to pay for a special town meeting because the money is stuck in a reserve, because we need to make sure we're following all the rules and policies that we have put in place for this.
Hey. Yeah, I think we heard you loud and clear on that, Shelley.
Okay.
David, questions on that? David?
I'd keep it in the airport account, what I'd do with it. I'd pay the expenses for the airport out of that and not steal the money out of there and waste it.
Okay, Ethan, any other comments?
No, we'll discuss it at the next meeting.
Okay. Cindy, anything else?
Nope.
Okay, appreciate all of it. Let's get this on the agenda for the next selectmen's meeting, the end of the month. You all set with that, Joe?
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, I know there's public out there. Is there any, oh, hang on one second. Keith?
Hey, Steve, I'd just like to thank Cindy for her great presentation with the budgets. And I like to build off of one of those real quick, the highway budget review. I would just like to add a little bit extra to that increase. A large portion of that increase for engineering and contract services is actually part of our efforts to get back a Nortrax contract to better service the front end loader that we purchased a few years ago.
Thank you. Okay, any questions, anything that we presented from the public? From the Budget Committee? Okay, hearing nothing at 6 o'clock. We will close the public hearing for the budget. And we will open the Board of Selectmen's meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance. We see a flag behind Cindy, so if you'll join me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America,
and to the
and
republic
republic for which it stands, one nation,
Under
under
God,
God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for
all.
It is our tradition, ladies and gentlemen, to have a moment of silence for men and women in uniform and those fighting the pandemic. Thank you. I'll call the meeting to order at 6:01. Please remember, if there's any conflict of interest on any of the articles or items we discussed tonight, please make sure you make us all aware of that. We do have one or two adjustments to the agenda. Joe, could you just, regarding the housing?
Yeah, the first adjustment, Mr. Chairman, would be under item 7, consent items to talk about additions to the draft warrant. That would be the item we talked about related to the Rangeley Housing Corporation for the meal site. So that question does not currently exist on the draft warrant.
All right. Anything else?
No, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. I have a motion for review and approve the meeting, minutes of the meeting for March 15th, regular meeting.
I'll make a motion that we approve the regular meeting minutes for the Board of Selectmen for March 15th, 2021.
Second it.
Thank you, Dave. Thank you, Steve. Any changes, remissions, redactions, additions? All in favor? Ethan?
I abstain.
Cindy?
Aye.
Shelley?
Aye.
David?
Aye.
5-0. Thank you. April 1, executive session.
Make a motion that we approve the Rangeley Board of Selectmen executive session meeting minutes for April 1st, 2021.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Ethan?
Aye.
Cindy?
Aye.
David?
Aye.
Shelley?
Aye.
5-0, thank you. Public to speak under non-agenda items. I can't see anybody in the public. Start off by saying, Mr. Chair. Hearing none?
Mr. Chair,
Okay, you got to be quick. Who's this?
Mark Beauregard.
Hello, Mark.
Hi, Steve. I just wanted to know if you've given any thought to stepping aside from your role as chairman of the Board of Selectmen.
No, why?
I was just curious because back a couple of years ago, a longtime member of the Airport Commission wrote a letter and he signed it that he was a member of the Airport Commission, and you found that you felt that was a violation of the bylaws and demanded that he be removed from the Airport Commission. And based on what's transpired with the Internal Revenue Service thing and the last year's fireman salary increase, I didn't know if you held yourself to the same standards you hold others to.
Good point. I'll leave that up to my fellow board. If they feel that I should be removed, somebody will let me know.
Okay, I thank you, Steve, for giving that some consideration. And I think they should review it in terms of the code of conduct that everyone signed. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Anybody else with public to speak? Okay, thank you, everyone. We have no boards and committee reports. First up on consent items is the warrant additions. We'll start off with the Rangeley Housing Funding. Joe, you want to give a brief description and then we'll move from there.
Absolutely, Mr. Chair. Again, the Rangeley Housing folks sent in a request on the 18th. I'm going to mute somebody. There we go. I would recommend, since that's a donation, to move that or create an article at Article DN 22 to see if the voters of the town of Rangeley will raise and appropriate whatever that amount was. Tracy, if you've got that handy. No, I've got it right here. 7,500 to the Rangeley Housing Development for meal site. Something to that effect. That would be Article DN 22.
DN 22. Anybody like to make a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Shelley.
Second.
Thank you, Cindy. Any discussion? Cindy?
I just think, you know, where this year, we didn't request anyone petition for signatures for donation requests over $5,000 that, and given the importance of the meal site, it's the right thing to do.
Thank you, Cindy. Ethan, anything?
I echo Cindy's sentiments on the matter.
Thank you. David?
Yeah, this is for the meal site. Are they gonna open it up again? It's been closed for like a year. I don't know what they did with the money from last year. I don't know. I'm just curious.
It's been closed to the public, but they're still feeding people there, David.
Oh, okay. Okay, yeah. No problem.
Yep. Okay, Shelley?
Yes, I agree with everybody else. And I think, Joe, that they are planning on opening that up.
Thanks.
Thank you, everyone. Moved and seconded. All in favor? Ethan?
Aye.
Cindy?
Aye.
Shelley?
Aye.
David?
Aye.
Aye for 5-0. Thank you. Warrant additions, combine the downtown revitalization and economic development reserve accounts. I need a motion.
Make a motion that we include Article B21 in the Board of Selectmen's warrant for 2021.
Thank you, Cindy. Thanks, Ethan. Any discussion? Shelley?
No?
David?
All set?
Ethan?
All set?
Cindy?
I'm good.
All those in favor? Shelley?
Aye.
Cindy?
Aye.
David?
Aye.
Ethan?
Aye.
5-0. Thank you. Broadband. Joe, would you give a brief description of the broadband vocabulary?
Absolutely, Mr. Chairman. Thank you. So excuse me for a second, I've got to mute someone. There we go. When we met with the broadband folks, I think it was last week, we talked about next steps, and the next steps in the process. We had two RFPs. So they're talking about, you know, which RFP is best, but for this portion of the agenda, the next step is to prepare or place a warrant article on your referendum draft warrant for the town meeting. And there are two options here, and the options came out of discussion between the delegates, between Steve and I. Option one is one article, and is to see if the voters of the town of Rangeley will vote to authorize the board to enter discussions with the plantations for the purpose of drafting the interlocal agreement. The second two would be the second option. So to see if the town or the voters of the town will authorize the board to enter an interlocal agreement. So this one's a little different because it's asking if you want to enter an interlocal agreement that wouldn't be prepared most likely at the time of voting. And then it also offers Article B23. If B22 passes, do the voters authorize the board of directors of the interlocal corporation to pursue bond funding? So there are two options there. In the delegates meeting, the popular option, or the one that most folks brought back to their respective boards of assessors, was option one. And that's option one would be my recommendation to the board, Mr. Chairman.
What's your pleasure? Start off with David. Any feelings? Shelley?
Joe, you said option one you were suggesting?
Correct, Mr. Chairman. I'm recommending option one. Mr. Chairman, just as a sidebar, Selectman Haley was trying to speak a moment ago.
Oh.
Yeah.
I'll come, David. Go ahead, Shelley, finish up.
So is the second option just to prevent a special meeting? Is that what?
That's correct, Mr. Chair. The second option was an kind of an attempt to see if there was a way we could have the voters authorize the board to enter an interlocal agreement and then also authorize funding so that there wouldn't have to be a second town meeting. But as I noted, the other plantations have the first option in their hands now. So we'd have to, if you voted to go with option 2, we'd have to get that information to them as soon as possible.
The option 2 was suggested to help speed it along and not have to go through more steps. However, the legal departments have suggested that option 1 is the better approach and gives us time to create the interlocal agreement before too long here. That fair, Joe?
That is a good assessment, Mr. Chairman, yes.
Okay. Go ahead, David.
Yeah, I agree with you guys. I keep getting muted or whatever, but I agree with you guys.
Okay. Cindy? Cindy, you're muted. I'm sorry.
Thank you for telling me, Steve. I would have just kept talking. No, I respect our town manager's suggestions. I was thinking option 2, but yeah, no, option 1 makes sense.
Well, it was my suggestion with the option 2 because I'm echoing the sentiments of the broadband committee. We don't want to lose steam in this thing, but all the legal eagles have suggested we go with 1.
Yeah, I think that's fine.
Ethan.
Well, you know me, I'm all for speed on getting things done, but if we're gonna do it right, we'll do it the right way. And if they're saying that's the right way, then that's what I support.
Okay. Need a motion for option number 1.
I make a motion, we do option number 1.
Second.
Any more discussion? Cindy, you all set?
All set.
Kelly, you all set? Hello, Shelley.
All set.
Okay, and Ethan, you're all set. David, you're all set?
Yeah.
All in favor? Cindy?
Aye.
Kelly?
Aye.
Ethan?
Aye.
David?
Aye.
5-0, thank you. Liquor licenses, Portage Tap House, I need a motion.
I'll make a motion that we approve the liquor license renewal application for Portage Tap House, Inc. as presented.
Second.
I'm going to put Shelley down as a second. Any changes or, excuse me, anything anybody wants to discuss? Ethan?
No.
Shelley?
No.
David?
No?
Cindy?
All set.
All those in favor? Ethan?
Aye.
Shelley?
Aye.
Cindy?
Aye.
David?
Abstain.
Okay, and I will vote in favor, 4-0. Ball Mountain Camps, liquor
I'll make
license.
a motion that we approve the liquor license renewal for Bald Mountain Camps as presented.
Second.
Moved and seconded. I'm going to abstain from this. I know everyone is in it. Cindy, how do you vote?
Aye.
Ethan?
Aye.
David?
Aye.
Shelley?
Aye.
Not too funny. Thank you. I abstain, by the way. Sure everybody
I
heard
like how
that.
I like how they have to put your birth date on here, Steve.
You can put
Oh,
it
you
down
didn't
for
see that.
1953. Old as dirt.
I wasn't going to make any comment whatsoever.
Do it. I know where your mind goes. Okay, there we go. Next up, fire protection contract, Lincoln Plantation and Wilson's Mills. Chief Bacon is with us. Chief, before you get started on this thing, I don't want to forget it. You've had a difficult couple of days. I want to thank you and your entire crew. Whenever there's a tragedy involved, it makes it even harder for our volunteers, but I want to thank you. I know the board echoes the sentiments. Could you tell us about Lincoln and Wilson's Mills?
So we spoke about this, just make sure everybody can hear me. I just unmuted. I'm not sure if I did it right.
Can hear you.
Okay, perfect. Last year we spoke, and I requested permission to kind of work on this project with Wilson's Mills, which is in Lincoln Plantation. I put together a draft proposal looking for input from the board if they wanted to change anything, resubmit it to me, open it up for general conversations, or approve it as written. It was mirrored off of other contracts we have in the books for fire protection. So I guess right now it's at the will of the select board.
What for Chief Bacon? Start off with Cindy. You're on mute, Cindy.
I'm sorry. Okay. So how did you arrive at the service charge, Chief?
What we looked at, we had a meeting with Wilson's Mills, and to be honest, it's not going to take a whole lot of my hours to complete their service. They get maybe 3 or 4 calls a year. We'd be basically sending a trainer out once a month for training. All of those fees they would be required to pay us for, so we would bill them. We'd bill them at the hourly officer rate. We'd bill them for apparatus. Any apparatus we don't use, say they have a structure fire, but we send an apparatus that's not used, I think I stated it would be at the FEMA rate. That is something that we look at on a national level. I believe it's 125 per engine per hour. So it's a fair rate that changes from time to time. And other than that, currently right now we're responding on a mutual aid basis, which means we get nothing.
Right.
It is a community to community assistance. Now we'd be managing them. We'd be sending personnel who are paid. They would also be paying their personnel. That's something that's a little bit different. They have to fall into, our payroll laws. So it's basically trying to be as fair as possible.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
Question, Cindy?
I'm all set. It was a good explanation.
Thank you, Cindy. Shelley?
Has legal reviewed it yet?
No, I'm looking for the blessing from the select board first, and then we can send it to legal. If that's what you would like.
What you're going to end up hearing is a motion to approve, should it go that way, based upon legal review. So if legal comes back with some questions, it was still not approved yet. It's going to come back to us again.
That's kind of the route I was taking.
Okay. David, any questions?
Yeah, I was thinking that fee should be around 10,000 probably.
So
instead of the 3, I mean, I don't know. Kind of stretching the fire department out there. Just
it's not that much of it's not that much of a stretch, sir. But what they bring to the table that other locations don't, like Sandy River or Dallas Plantation, they have their own department that they're required to maintain. They're still required to have a budget for that department. They're still required to buy equipment from that department that would not be coming out of our budget. So I'm going off the top of my head, so forgive me if I'm wrong, but a lot of the plantations pay close to 10,000, between 10,000 and 20,000. So trying to come to a happy medium. If we want to try this for 1 year, we can come back and look at how much did it cost to manage them and go from there.
right. So just as long as they're getting charged every minute somebody's doing something, I don't mind.
I will. I'm pretty strict on the way I everything that comes in gets recorded in our software. So you can guarantee if somebody goes out there for training and it's 2 hours and 2 minutes, it shows up here as 2 hours and 2 minutes.
Perfect. I like it.
So do we, if they come over and assist you in your department, do we pay them?
No, in the contract, they are also still required to pay for their own firefighters. They have a payroll budget. So if they come out here, they still have to pay for their firefighters.
Anything else, Shelley?
I just didn't know if they could come over and volunteer for the Rangeley department if something happened, and if that's the case, and they did something for us, that would be something we would pay them for, right? Or no?
I think we really need to look at this as it's a managed department. We're managing their books, basically. They're still responsible for their own firefighters. And they only come out here for a third alarm fire, which is somewhat rare.
So it's kind of like what they predicted a few years ago, because the fire departments are finding few people to apply and be a part of departments, especially if they volunteer as like a regional chief. Does that make sense?
It does make sense, and I know what you're looking at, kind of a regionalization. That the only state that I can think of off the top of my head is New Jersey. But those regionalized fire chiefs work where the urban population is greater. It works well there. Here, we're doing something that's kind of unique. They've got a department, and I hope nobody takes us the wrong way if they're listening from Lincoln Plantation, but it's an aging community. They're not bringing in younger people. They're not bringing people that are interested in the fire service. So if that changes, this could also change if they come to a place in the next few years where they can take off running again. They won't need us.
One can only hope.
Right. And
hang on one sec. Cindy, got any questions?
Nope.
Ethan,
I make a motion that we enter into this contract with Lincoln Plantation pending legal approval.
Second.
moved and second. Cindy, how do you vote?
Aye.
David,
Aye.
Shelley,
Aye.
aye for me, 5-0. Chief Bacon, thank you. Don't go home yet.
I won't.
Okay. Next up is Atlas Pro, Pyro Vision Entertainment Group, fireworks contract. We're using the money carried over for this, correct, Joe?
Yes, you would. The proposal, the recommendation I have, I've talked with Chief Bacon about it. I've also talked with Keith. The document is due back at the fireworks company by April 25th. My recommendation to the board is to send this to the Park Commission, see what their thoughts are, and then you can review it again on the 20th of April. Obviously with COVID concerns, I just want to make sure that the Park Commission has a chance to look at it.
How about we do this? Instead of bringing these things back around and back around and back around, make a motion to approve it pending Park Commission's approval.
Second.
You all right with that, Joe?
I'm okay with that. Sure.
Okay. Entertain a motion, please.
So moved.
I'll second it. Dave, how do you vote? I saw you say aye. Ethan?
Aye.
Aye. Shelley?
Aye.
Cindy?
Aye.
I vote. Thank you very much. Fire Department Reserve, $5,000 for wildland, forestry equipment. How about it, Chief Bacon? What you gonna do?
Well, I've started becoming concerned over the past few weeks. there's some initial reports that we're gonna have a very dry spring and summer due to the lower than normal snowpack. So what I'm looking at, it's entirely possible that I will not need this reserve, but I'm very close to going over my PPE budget line, and I like to keep my budget lines under what I request. So $5,000 basically would cover outfitting 10 firefighters with lighter weight wildland fire gear, pants and jacket. Right now, we're wearing our turnout gear, which is heavier. It makes us work harder. So I'm trying to basically plan for an active spring, which I feel we're going to have, a dry spring.
Any questions for the chief? Ethan?
I mean, these outfits, I mean, how long are these outfits good for when you buy this stuff?
Well, if we take care of it, it'll be good for a long time. The NFPA recommends 10 years. However, state of Maine is not an NFPA site or NFPA state. So if we take care of it, it should be good for a while.
Thank you. David, is that it, Ethan?
Yes.
David, any questions? Okay, Shelley?
All set.
Cindy?
I'm all set as well.
I need a motion. Thank you.
Make a motion to give them the 5,000.
Thank you, David.
Second.
Thank you, Ethan. How do you vote, Cindy?
Aye.
Shelley?
Aye.
Ethan?
Aye.
David?
Aye.
I vote. Thank you. Joe, would you want to talk about the Casco Bay Advisors and fill us in?
Absolutely, Mr. Chair. So when we put the agenda together, the vote of recommendation that I had on file from the Economic Opportunity Committee was to see if the select board would entertain an idea, a motion to join forces with Brian Lippold of Casco Bay Advisors to help us with the RFP reviews. We've received 2 reviews, as I noted earlier. The delegates are comfortable, and the Economic Opportunity Committee is comfortable with foregoing that at this point. However, they would like instead to ask the board to allow the use or authorize the use of up to $3,000 from the Economic Development Reserve for the purpose of hiring Freddie Flaherty to generate or begin generating the interlocal corporation document. And that is their recommendation that they voted on this morning.
Okay, Shelley, do you have any input? You're part of this group.
Yeah, so at first we thought we were gonna have a lot of bids on, and a lot to go through. So Brian had said something that he could give services for and present a contract. But then when we figured out there was, what, 2, Joe, that submitted?
Correct.
Then we decided that it was more important to use funds to go into hire the attorney to do the joint intercorporation documents to align the plantations with the town.
Thank you, Shelley. Relative to the broadband committee, we're also at the point of saying the interlocal agreement is step number 1. Step number 2 will be ask the respective towns if they're interested in the interlocal agreement, which you already voted on earlier, getting it on a warrant article. Once that is compiled, then we will understand from that group how the bonding and funding for broadband will take place. That is a Reader's Digest summary of several hundred meetings, it feels like, in the last 6 weeks, but it's only been a few. Did I cover all the bases, Joe?
Yes, you did, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Next up is
So do we need to add that money to the budget, or have we already planned for that, Joe, in our budget process?
I'm sorry, Shelley, you're right, thank you.
So very good question. In the budget, there is $3,000 for a broadband consultant, and that budget would begin July 1. I think further down the road, there was some discussion this morning, which I agree with. You may need someone with technical expertise, such as Brian from Casco Bay Advisors, once you get to the point where you're doing hard negotiations with the provider of internet. So that's in a safe place in next year's budget. I think the request from the folks this morning was to have funds available at this point in time, meaning the next couple of weeks or next 3 weeks, to begin looking at drawing up this document, at least to begin planning it. So I think they would like to have money from reserves available now for legal. That's their request, as I understand it. Sidebar, Mr. Chairman, in the email from our attorney that I shared with you, she's proposing that when we draft this interlocal agreement, we put a mechanism in there that essentially pays Rangeley back for the work that we're doing to form this agreement ahead of time.
So am I to understand you're asking for $3,000 tonight? And if so, where's it coming out of?
The reserve.
Economic Development Reserve.
Okay.
I'm on too, Steve. This is Kate. If you have any questions.
Thank you, Kate. I apologize, I didn't know you were on, Kate. Thanks for chiming in. Do you want to add anything to this, Kate, that you've already heard?
Yeah, the only thing I would add is the reason why we made the request now instead of waiting is because speed is an issue here. There's a lot of steps that are happening in the process. And the interlocal agreement, we were quoted an estimate of up to $3,000 to get the legal counsel to write it, which has to be done. And it has to be done through the Rangeley town office, and we can be compensated, we can go back and ask the plantations for compensation for that. But we wanted to get this rolling, so we just didn't want to wait. That's where we wanted to take it from our reserve that we have the money for to get this process going.
Thank you. Any other aspects to this you want to, Joe, Shelley, Kate? If not, I'll entertain a motion for the $3,000 coming out of the Economic Development Reserves Funds.
I'll make a motion that we approve the expenditure of up to $3,000 out of the Economic Development Reserve Fund to cover attorneys' costs in developing the interlocal agreement.
Second.
Moved, seconded. Any further discussion? Cindy?
No, I had my hand up because I was wondering how we were going to get reimbursed for the plantation share, and it sounds like that's already been talked about and it will be a part of this document.
Shelley?
But
All set?
Yes.
Ethan?
All set.
David?
All set.
Okay, thank you. How do you vote, Cindy?
Aye.
David?
Aye.
Ethan?
Aye.
Shelley?
aye.
5-0. Thank you very much. Next up is RFPs for contracted services. Joe?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. When I was reviewing the budgets, it occurred to me that we have at least a couple of contracted services, consultant services that will be up for renewal at the end of June. And I just wanted to check in with the board. I checked with the purchasing policy, and it appears to be fairly silent on how frequently we should release RFPs. So I just wanted to check with you and see if there were any that you wanted me to consider or direct me to re-release. So we don't need to know tonight, Mr. Chairman. I just, sorry.
No, go ahead, Joe.
I just kind of wanted to have a conversation with you. It's nothing I need to know tonight, but with those expiring at the end of June, if we're going to do something, I'd like to get them out within the next few weeks. so people have time to respond.
Could you send out in our next packet those contracts that are up for renewal?
Yes.
Is that satisfactory to everybody? Cindy, you okay with that?
Yep, that's what I was going to ask.
Okay. David, you okay? Okay, Shelley?
All set.
Ethan?
Yes.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Airport manager stipend. Good, Joe?
Mr. Chairman, as you recall, the board appointed me to be airport manager. In that process, I didn't think to recommend anything with the stipend. The stipend should be reflected somewhere in the minutes. One of the things that the auditor does when they come through is they'll match payroll with motions by the executive body, just to make sure that everything's matching up. So for future reference, I just want to make sure that that motion is in our minutes somewhere.
I make a motion, we move the stipend from the fire chief, who was the interim airport manager previously, to the current town manager, who is taking over the airport manager's position.
Second.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Ethan?
Aye.
Cindy?
Aye.
Shelley?
Aye.
David? Thank you. 5-0. Ratify general reserve expenditure to the pay increase from last year. Joe?
Mr. Chairman, this is something the board discussed several weeks ago now. I had a memo to you on March 11th or 12th, where I recommended ratifying the use of funds drawn from the general reserve that were set aside for the salary survey in fiscal year 20 for employee evaluation pay increases for the period beginning on or around June 12th, 2020, and continuing to the current day, and to approve the continued use of funds for the same purpose and in the same manner until June 30, 2021.
Questions?
I have a question.
Go
So,
ahead.
in regards to normal practice, is it taking the money out of the reserve before the money is spent?
Go ahead, Joe.
So I want to understand the question. Was the question, was the money taken out of reserve before it was spent?
Yeah. Isn't that what the common practice is? Because before, like you said with the stipend, that it, before the money moves, you have to show where the money's at. Does that make sense?
I think
Yes.
what, yeah, I think what Shelley's trying to say is, should there have been a board vote and motion prior to the money being spent? Since it was in a reserve account.
Technically, Mr. Chairman, the answer is yes. I think by ratifying that, it'll show up in the minutes that it was approved by the board.
Does that answer your question, Shelley?
And so we're not gonna get in trouble for moving money that's already been spent? There's a law, hang on one second, let me dig it out. And I mean, I love the town ranger, but I'm not willing to go to jail, but, let's see, hang on one second. See if I can find it. I thought I had it in this packet, but I don't. Oh, here, we're here. Tampering with public records. This isn't anything like that, right?
No, Mr. Chairman, this is the generation of a public record. This would be an action taken by the board that would be recorded by staff of the town.
And did we check with John to make sure that when this was done?
Somewhere
we
here, I'm sorry, Shelley.
When it started, like, I mean, it just doesn't seem like John to not present it to the board, and I just didn't know if it just missed something. I'm just curious.
Mr. Chairman, there is a memorandum somewhere that I think Tracy had shown me that illustrates that this was approved.
Okay.
Approved by the board or approved by John? I guess the piece, all right, can
Go ahead.
I guess the piece that concerns me is that this money was set aside for salary survey and raises, and it was just, and the salary survey just went by the wayside. So I'd rather not raise the money again for a salary survey and just leave some of that in the reserve. So I think it was projected at $8,000 and have the rest come out of the general fund.
Is that your motion, Cindy?
Yes.
I'll second that.
So say it to me again so I can write it down.
My motion is to retain $8,000 in the general reserve fund. I guess it's already there.
Yeah.
So I guess it would be to allocate $7,000 out of the general fund to cover the wages. I'm sorry, the pay increases for the current fiscal year. The merit raises, correct, Shelley?
What was that?
Shelley qualified it and she was right. It was the merit raises for the current fiscal year.
Cindy, Shelley. Okay, so this motion also ratifies the expenditures, correct? Cindy?
It ratifies a portion of the expenditures. The original intent of the general reserve, the 15,000, was for salary survey and raises. It's what is indicated in the budget records.
Tracy, go ahead.
Let me unmute myself. I would just like to state that on, if you watch the video from April 10th, 2019, there is discussion about this general reserve account and what it's intended for. And it's very clear that it is not the salary survey, it is just pay increases. None of that is reflected in written minutes, but if you go back and watch the video, the discussion is there and recorded. So I just wanted to clarify that.
Thank you. All right, moved and seconded for Cindy's motion. Any more discussion on that? Joe, before we vote, anything you want to add to this?
I don't think so, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Yes, David? You got to unmute, Dave. You got to unmute.
Okay, so I'm confused. What's this about? This reserve? I thought we was talking about the airport manager for a minute there, then we went to this other one or something. I'm confused on this thing.
Go ahead, Cindy. Fill in, Dave. Cindy?
Oh, sorry, I missed something there. So Joe, we already discussed and voted on the airport manager stipend. So the next subject line or the next topic line in consent items is the general reserve expenditure. So what happened last year was, or what happened earlier in this current fiscal year is that merit raises in the amount of 97 cents an hour were allocated and spent out of the general reserve without a board vote to move those general reserve funds.
I got it, I guess.
And so that's why it's on our agenda, is for the board to actually move general reserve funds out for the merit increase
Last year,
for the current fiscal year.
current fiscal year. Okay.
All set, David?
I guess so, yeah.
Ethan? Ethan, you're on mute, so just thumbs up. Yep. Okay. Shelley, anything else?
But didn't we also raise funds for that $8,000 too? In the budget?
Current year's budget?
Yeah.
Um,
I can't remember which line item it was under.
Is the question about the salary survey, Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Yeah, that was in the selectmen budget, I believe. Division 35, I believe you placed 8,000 in there for the salary survey.
Okay, Shelley?
Yeah.
Hey, Cindy?
Yes.
It helped save it twice.
Okay. All right, we'll vote. Ethan, how do you vote?
Aye.
David?
Aye.
Shelley?
Aye.
Cindy?
Aye.
I vote. Thank you.
So now do we make the motion to remove it from the budget?
From
For
the
the
selectmen's
warrant? Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, could I interrupt for a second? I just want to be sure that the amount of money that's been paid out over the course of the year is covered for the raises. Up to date. I believe that original number was 15,000. If that was divided out into 97-cent per hour increments, I don't know if 7,000 would cover it. I haven't had time to do the math on that.
So do you don't think you're under in enough items to cover the 7,000?
The total was 15, what he's saying.
I think we could revisit it in a couple of months if it, we had time to run the numbers and it looked like we were going to go over, then yes, I would bring it back to you.
I don't think we've ever been over budget.
It doesn't show a history of it.
Okay.
Do you see any increases that we've had in revenues or any decreases this year to date? That would concern you for the assets and liabilities?
Well, in terms of each individual department, I haven't looked at it yet. I just, first I'm hearing of it tonight, so I haven't had a chance to kind of look and see if there's anything that might be close. I know the planning budget was close last time I looked, but that's because the carryover hadn't been added in yet, so. I'm not questioning it, I'm just trying to make sure I have my head around it, I guess.
So you're suggesting not to remove it from the budget right now?
The salary survey?
Yeah. Where those funds are in the general?
I see what you're saying. Yeah. I think you could. Yeah.
I think, all right, so the point of my motion was to not have to raise $8,000.
And Joe's just wondering where he's gonna make up that money for the 7,000 in this fiscal year,
Exactly.
because he needs the
Yeah,
$15,000 to cover the expenses that were dished out.
So we've got the summary in our packets here of what's been unexpended to date. We typically, I believe our audits indicate we're at least $400,000, unspent each year, at least. We've got the Chick Hill funds. In the general, that at least 400,000 was put in the general fund out of the Chick Hill monies.
Joe, let's bring this up to the next meeting and go through it again.
Well, aren't we running out of time on the budget, though? Everything has to be final, right, for the next meeting? And we can't make any changes at the next meeting on the warrant, right, Joe?
I believe you could, but it's really down to the wire. I'd rather not, but I think you could.
No, I don't think we can. I think she's right. Their opportunity for changes tonight. But this is the ratification this year's, not next year's. What you're suggesting is to take it off for next year. Correct, Shelley?
Yes. Yes.
What's your pleasure?
Just voted.
We did vote on your motion. I didn't clear up the matter, though, according to Shelley and others. I'm honoring the discussion, that's all.
Mm-hmm.
Are you all set, Shelley?
So I guess I want to make a motion to remove the $8,000 for the budget for this coming year.
You have to say what for.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. That's the same thing we've been talking about. For the, the salary survey.
Second.
So we already had a motion on the table, half voted on. What do we do with that?
The other one, it passed 5-0. This is a new motion, Ethan, to take away salary survey for the 21-22 budget, correct, Shelley?
Correct.
Okay, no, I didn't realize that we'd finished voting.
Yep. Any input on that, David?
No, I'm all set, I guess.
Ethan?
I'm good.
Cindy, any more comments?
All set.
Shelley?
All set.
All those in favor of removing $8,000 from this upcoming budget, amount of $8,000? How do you vote, Joe? David?
Aye.
Ethan?
Aye.
Cindy?
Aye.
Shelley?
Aye.
Aye, 5-0. Okay, thank you. Next one is ratification of the IRS penalty payment. Joe?
Mr. Chairman, this is a follow-up to your last meeting. The voided check that was in the mail has been accounted for. We've been in touch with the IRS. The matter is closed. Again, in the interest of having the minutes reflect the fact that this was tended to and ratified by the select board, I would recommend that you ratify it. It's in the interest of having a public record of it.
Thank you. Questions? Ethan?
No.
David?
No.
Shelley?
No.
Cindy?
No.
I need a motion.
Motion to ratify.
Second.
Cindy? How do you vote?
Aye.
Shelley?
Aye.
David?
Aye.
Ethan?
Aye.
Aye. Conflict of interest. It's been requested that we have this item on all of boards' agendas for boards and committees. And in order to get that into all of them, Joe's requesting a motion to add.
Motion to
So
add.
moved. Second.
Any questions? Shelley?
Nope.
Cindy?
What's that?
Ethan?
All set.
David?
All set?
How do you vote, David?
Aye.
Ethan?
Aye.
Shelley?
Aye.
Cindy?
Aye.
Thank you. We have 3 letters of thank yous from the American Red Cross, from Health Reach Community Health Centers, from Constance Coggins, and from Life Flight. Thank yous for our participation with them. If you'd like me to read it, I will. If not, thank you for your letters. Pleasure doing business with you. Next up is comprehensive plan review and implementation of committee bylaws. First reading. Is there any questions on the comprehensive plan implementation committee bylaws? You'll see some changes where it says citizens, taxpayers. That's really the only one I spotted. Any questions, Ethan?
No.
David?
All set?
Shelley?
All set.
Cindy? Cindy?
Is there, would they be required to sign the code of ethics as other committees do?
Yeah. I don't think there should be an issue with that. So the answer, I believe, is yes. I see Tracy shaking her head, and Joe.
Okay.
Okay, good point, Cindy. Thank you.
Mhm.
I don't think, do we need to move this, or can we just say it's good for the first reading?
I don't think you need to move it on the first reading, as long as there's a record that you've read it.
Okay. Next up, I think that's why Earl's been patient through all of this evening. Truck number 11 update. Keith? You got to go off mute, Keith. Yep. Thank you.
Yes, all right. Number 11. As of right now, that truck is still at Sparky's garage. It is completely rebuilt at this point. Sparky has verbally honored that invoice, as you guys discussed in the last meeting when I was gone. And at this point, the truck is just awaiting us to pay that invoice and pick it up.
Ask him how much he wants for it, how much he'll give us for it. I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
I see David smiling.
That will be discussed in another meeting.
Okay, anything to add, Earl?
Nope.
Okay. Any questions from the board? Ethan?
No.
David?
Yeah, they won't let you get it if you get a check? Is that what you said?
So we've opted not to go pick it up based on this meeting. and two, just trying to really haven't had too much of a need for it. Weather
Yeah.
permitting, obviously, we've been fortunate that way. I just think it's a lot cleaner if we can obviously get the
Yeah.
approval from the board and then move forward.
Yeah, give them a check and go get it.
Kelly, any questions?
Nope, all set.
Cindy?
All set, thanks.
Okay, what's your pleasure? You want to pay the bill?
It
Bill,
may come in
pick her
handy
up.
for next meeting's conversation.
What's that?
I said it may come in handy for next meeting's conversation.
Yeah, what's the total of the bill right now?
Roughly, I'm gonna say 14.5.
Well, if you're going to get us to pay the bill, you got to have a number.
Oh. Bear with me, I apologize.
All right, we'll come back to you. Selectman Lowell requests for clarification. Joe?
Mr. Chairman, in your packets this evening, there is a series of tables that the Finance Department has put together in response or in clarification to some questions asked prior to the last meeting. So I'm looking for that now. That's under item 9. So essentially, what we've presented you with is the fiscal year 2020 budget items by account. So it begins with selectmen, shows the budget, the actual, and then the unexpended breakdown. So for instance, in selectmen, you can see there was a compensation item that was unexpended, fringe benefits that was unexpended, and some contract services that were unexpended. That's just an example, but if you go through the entire budget or the entire series of tables, you'll see some of the things that were unexpended, which lead to the difference in the ending numbers, as pointed out previously.
Joe, I'm sorry. Thank you for doing that. But my question is, if we are under budget, what happens to that money? And also, I'd like to say on the handout that we received, dated for 3/1/2021, the end numbers on page 90 aren't matching up at all. I mean, if I'm looking at previous budgets, or I would have looked at the revenue, because you're also receiving revenue in addition to that. And if you're under budget, shouldn't we have money in the account that we raised money for?
Right. Mr. Chairman.
And are we adjusting, or is that money, what happens to that money? I can't make sense of it. And like I said, on page 90, I think that something got missed again, because the numbers don't match anything that we've had before. Remember last time I had pointed out in January, the numbers were different than a report we received. I think it was in February, and then the March, or then there was another set of documents that matched. But like, for example, 2019 budget, it says $2.7 million. And it says actual was 6.8, and that didn't match the numbers. The budget items are matching straight across, but the actual numbers aren't always matching.
Go ahead, Joe.
I just want to know, like, where is that money gone? If we're not appropriating the funds that we are taxing our taxpayers to raise money to spend, where does that money go? I mean, I know a big question will be once the audit comes in, but.
Shelley,
Yeah.
we let Joe answer the first couple of questions and then carry on with them.
Sorry.
Okay, thank you.
The first question, Mr. Chair, is what happens to money that's been raised and appropriated and not spent? If the select board has not voted to carry that over in compliance with or pursuant to one of your town meeting warrant articles, which you have in place, it lapses to fund balance, goes to surplus essentially. If it has been earmarked, for instance, the TIF consultant that I mentioned earlier, it gets carried into the next year, as long as it's in the record that the board has voted to do that. That's why it's important to have that action in the minutes. Relating to, and the board does not have this in your packets for this week, but I do have my last meeting packet in front of me, so I can see what Shelley's referring to. On page 88, 89, and then 90, which are the ending pages of the budget typically. Two of those, Shelley, that you have, one of them has your handwriting on it, end with 9001, which is the abatement sub-account. And then there's one in the middle from February 26th that actually ends with 6005, the Rangeley Health Ride account. So that explains why those don't match. They're different pages of the budget. And actually our assistant finance director brought that to my attention. So that answers the second question. Mr. Chairman, I can't recall the third question.
Go ahead, Shelley. Shelley? Shelley? Shelley, you run somewhere?
Steve, can I add to Joe's explanation?
Go ahead, Rebecca.
So Shelley's just looking at Fund 1 operating accounts. So we have tax money that hasn't come in. We have Fund 2, Fund 3, and Fund 4. So our undesignated fund balance, our fund balances period, incorporate Fund 1, Fund 2, Fund 3, Fund 4, and we actually have a Fund 5. So there's many different things that go on, and this is all an audit. But like at the end of fiscal year 20, we had a large airport project payment that we made that we did not get reimbursed for in fiscal year 20. So it's more than just operating account. Governmental budgeting is completely different than the private sector. So you got to look at the big picture and not just the actual appropriations in the budget. And we could also, the revenues, we try to be conservative with those, but we might not get all the revenues that we estimated. So, I mean, there's a lot to it than just looking at, oh, we appropriated this and we only spent this.
Shelley, are you unmuted? Shelley? Maybe other people are hearing her and I can't.
No, you hear nothing, Steve.
Okay. I see her moving, but are you there, Shelley? Okay. Did they answer your questions? Cindy, do you have any questions?
No.
David?
All set.
Ethan?
No.
I have a feeling that Shelley is not all set, and I hesitate to carry on without giving her time to get back on with us here. Did she dial in on her phone, or is that what went on, Joe?
She is dialed in.
Okay.
And unfortunately, I don't have I can mute folks, but I can't unmute, so.
She tried the unmute, but then nothing happened with it.
Try *6, Shelley. Push *6 on your phone.
Okay, we're going to go back to the bill for the truck on 11, and then we'll come back to Shelley.
Okay, Steve, that amount is $14,374.59.
Thank you. Joe, is there any reason you can't authorize to pay that tonight?
You can authorize us to pay that tonight. There is enough money in the highway account. We've looked at that. Earl and Keith and I have checked that out. A sidebar, Mr. Chair, is that it would, I believe, overdraw that sub account by a couple $1,000s, but the entire account is safe. The entire highway budget will not go over as a result of it.
Well, I don't think there's any notion to not pay this bill and bring our truck back home, even if you choose to sell it later on or something, is there?
No, I think we should pay for it, get it back to us. Yeah, I think that's the course of action recommended at this point.
Cindy, you all set with that?
Yeah,
Ethan?
Yes.
David?
Yes.
Shelley, I know you can hear me. Are you all set with paying the bill, $14,374? Give me a thumbs up or a thumbs down. Okay, you can't hear me now, Shelley? I guess not. All right, I entertain a motion to pay that bill.
Make a motion, we pay the bill, 14,000, whatever it is.
$374.59.
Yeah.
I'll second.
Thank you, Cindy.
Thank
Ethan,
you.
Ethan?
I vote yes.
Dave?
In here.
Aye.
Aye.
Cindy, thank you. Aye for me. I'm just going to try it. Shelley, are you there?
Think I'm back. Am I back?
You're back.
Can hear you.
So I just had to recall in because I muted for myself and then I think someone muted for me also, and somehow I got locked out completely. I couldn't even hit *6 for anything.
Are you approving the bill for pay the bill for the truck?
Yes, aye. Yep.
Now we'll come back to you. All of you, were they answered?
Yeah.
To a point, and I understand how it's different than the private sector. But it looks like if someone else were looking at it and if it's not explained, then, and we can't explain it as a board, what the difference is and stuff, then I think that there should be some scope of training for that. And maybe the auditor, when they come in and finally give us our audit, we can see where we're at for that. But if the revenues were up and the budget is down, I mean, that part is simple math, and I understand that there are other things that are in there, but those other things, wouldn't we have to vote on those?
I'll add, for the airport project, that was one of the big ones. You do not vote on that. That is an AIP project, and the expenditures the Board of Selectmen do not vote on. Like I said, there was a large expenditure that we made in fiscal year 2020. When you're at the end of a project, you do not get immediately reimbursed. There's a 10% that is held back. We still actually haven't been reimbursed. So that is kind of why we keep that money in the airport reserve as well. But when you do the audit, you'll see those kind of changes from Fund 1, Fund 2, Fund 3, Fund 4, and Fund 5.
And you don't have to, Rebecca, flush them out if they're raised to show where that money goes, or it just goes, do you know what I mean?
Well,
like to show, like it wouldn't show under actual spent for items that was paid out?
So the audit itself is extremely detailed. It goes through each fund. Actually, what I provided you is more detailed than the audit for your operating account.
Okay.
But the audit will actually show you details on all funds.
Okay. For each category that we have, correct?
That is correct.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Shelley. Are you all set, dear?
Yep.
Appreciate it. Cindy, any comments, questions?
No.
David?
All set.
Ethan?
All set.
Again, Shelley, thank you very much. Broadband update. I think we've gone over our update and where we are to this point. Joe, is there anything else you want to add to this?
No, Mr. Chair, I think we've covered it in other areas this evening.
For those of you who don't know, we have had quite a bit of meetings. All of the plantations have been represented. A great deal of work has ensued with broadband. RFPs came back. Consolidated is still the front runner. Well, is the one we've chosen. Their proposal was much better by far than the others. I don't have any new business on the agenda. Department head updates are in front of you. If there's any questions on any of the department head updates, let me know.
Mr. Chair, if I could very briefly just inform the board that Bailey Bears has worked very hard on the Chapter 38 materials that are on the referendum warrant under the ordinance Article 1. And I just want to thank her for being here tonight in case there are any questions. She did prepare a memorandum for you with the highlights. And she, again, has worked with AvCog on this item, and she's made a lot of updates. So she's available if you have any quick questions. There will be
about this aspect of what they've been working on. I'm going to start with Cindy. Cindy, you must be on mute.
I am. Yeah, this looks like it was an incredible amount of work, Bailey. Thank you for that. I have a big concern with putting this on the June warrant, just because of all of the information that is here, and for the sake of public discussion. With broadband, TIF, union, I don't see the board having any opportunity to really look and discuss this. And I was telling Steve, my concerns, with it's a little different than, we've got the fire chief's ordinance change going before the voters because we've got one word that's changing throughout. But I think to do this justice and have, just some good public education and discussion, I think it should wait till, either we have if we end up having a special town meeting, sounds like we will, or the November election, just because there's so much detail.
Steve. If I can. It's me.
Oh, go ahead.
As planning board chair, we have spent a lot of time on this. All of our meetings are open to the public. We actually had a public hearing. It was advertised correctly for 5 p.m. We only had several people show up for that public hearing. So I think we've provided the information to those who are interested. And we have another public hearing coming up for the Board of Selectmen. But I mean, I think we've done our due diligence in regards to the planning board for getting the information to the citizens.
I'm not accusing anyone of not doing their due diligence. It's just the fact that there's, I don't know how many pages before us that, like I said, the select board's been stretched pretty thin with other town matters, and just to do this some justice with the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 departments, areas of Chapter 38 that were changed, just asking for a little extra time.
Anything else from the board regarding this? Ethan?
No, but thanks for this, Bailey. This is a lot of information.
Shelley?
So do we typically also have a public meeting, correct? When something like, when an ordinance goes on there, the Board of Selectmen? The planning board has theirs, but then doesn't the, selectmen also have one?
Yes. So the planning board, Mr.
Yes.
Chairman, has had their required public hearing by code. The selectmen have to have at least one prior to town meeting. And after hearing the discussion, I'm wondering about the timing of this. Do you think we should have a hearing devoted solely to this as the selectmen? Or do you think the planning board hearing was sufficient, I guess is the question.
Let's hear everybody's opinion. Cindy?
If it's common practice for the select board to have a public hearing or two, I don't know if we would need a public hearing for each section that Bailey's highlighted or not. It's quite an impressive document. A lot of information. And I just think with the education we're going to need to provide to the public on the broadband, the interlocal agreement, I don't know if we can do it justice. So.
Thank you, Cindy. Shelley, any comments?
Bailey, do you see any, with the permits and stuff that you've had coming up so far, do you see anything where someone may think that, and be like, oh, we didn't know anything about it? I mean, Rebecca had mentioned that there was like only 5 people that showed up. But if you're talking about the water and things are going to change and people start getting fined or something, then I'm just afraid that they'll come back too and say, well, you didn't really inform us. I mean, I know a lot of things are people's choices, but sometimes they don't take the opportunity or know what's going on sometimes.
That's a great question. I will tell you that in phone calls with people who are looking to start projects this summer, I've informed almost anyone that I've talked to that this is on the books and that we are working through it to go to town vote. So they're aware that what I'm showing them for ordinances now may not be what is the case come summertime when they're actually starting to build. So with that in mind, I feel like people had due notice if they've spoken to me directly about certain things.
Okay.
Steve, can I also add that it's actually on the warrant? So anybody who knew about tonight's public hearing at 5 o'clock knew that it was on the agenda because it was on the warrant.
Thank you, Rebecca. I do think there's an awful lot of merit to what is being brought up. I know it's a disappointment to hear this, but it is a lot of material. Yeah. I feel that I'm not as well informed about this as I should be. I have to be careful of admitting my fallacies. They seem to get exacerbated in some level or not, but beyond that, it's a lot of material. And I think the public, particularly the construction public, have they weighed in, Bailey? Do you feel that they're informed and they understand the changes?
The contractors that I've worked with that I've mentioned it to haven't really asked many questions or asked to see it. Aside from that, I have made it available to a few members of the public. It's been available to anyone that asked for it. I have only had a few people ask for it. We just didn't know how to make it readily available without having them contact me directly and email it because it is such a big document.
It certainly is that. Certainly is that. What's everyone's pleasure on this? I know it's on the warrant, but let's vet this out as quickly, as precisely as we can. Ethan, anything?
If we do drag it out, I don't know that we necessarily want to drag it out until November. If we have to, we have to. I know there's some effort and expense that goes into having a special, but I will agree that it's a large document and I haven't dove into it as deep as I could.
Shelley?
Receiving it on Easter weekend and late on Saturday in our packet, that is one thing I honestly didn't have time I tried to skim it, but it wasn't anything that I could focus on other than all the other stuff we had in our packet.
David?
So I'm not prepared to answer questions.
I gotta be honest, I haven't looked at it yet. But is it online so people can go on the town website and see it, I guess?
I don't have an answer to that.
I don't believe it is currently, Mr. Chairman. It's a large document that I don't know would fit in one PDF file.
Okay, I don't know.
Well, I
That
can tell,
sounds like
1, 2, 3, 3 sendings for Tracy to get it to me.
Oh, God, yeah, so, I don't know, sounds like we might want to wait and somehow get it out there. How did it? Gotta get it out to the public somehow, I don't know how.
All right, and Rebecca brings up a good point. It is currently on the warrant, and it was made, people knew who were going to pay tonight that it was there. But in order to deal with this incorrectly, we should assure them that we don't wait till November, that this is something we tackle sooner in terms of a special town meeting, so that they can, their hard work can be brought to the public, educated, and move on it, one way or the other. You all in agreement with that?
Are you on mute?
Yep, I agree with it, I guess.
Ethan?
Yeah, and the more I think about it, a special might actually be better for something with as much information where it could be dedicated to it, and where building and stuff is such a big part of our community.
Cindy, how do you feel about that?
I agree with Ethan's point.
Yeah. Shelley? I think
I
heard
agree
you.
with Ethan as well.
Okay, so Joe, all of this discussion now leads us to what do we do with it on the warrant if we're going to not act upon it tonight?
The board should vote to remove it from the draft warrant.
Can the motion include a given time for a special town meeting with this?
It could. One of the things that I've thought about while you were deliberating was the fact that if broadband makes it through the 4 communities, you'll be having a special town meeting by virtue of that warrant article. So you could either time them at the same time or close to each other. So
I was thinking the same thing, and we're shooting at this point, if memory serves, Joe, for July, correct?
it probably either late July or sometime in August. Rebecca and I are actually working on that timeline in the office. We don't have it finished yet, but I'm thinking late July or August, early August.
Yeah, we have to get some funding requests in frame associated with it.
So
All right.
Steve, perhaps if we just include in the motion that this will be voted on at the next special town meeting, since it seems that, or November, whichever occurs first.
I like that idea, Cindy. Thank you. Let you go ahead and make the motion.
Okay, I'll make a motion that we remove Article ORD1 from the June 8th, 2021 Selectmen's Town Meeting warrant and schedule a future vote at the next special town meeting or the November election, whichever comes first.
Moved. Seconded. Ethan, thank you. Any more discussion? All right, Ethan, how do you vote?
Aye.
David?
Aye.
Shelley,
Aye.
thank you. Cindy?
Aye.
Aye, thank you. All right. Anything else,
Can I-
Joe, the department heads?
I believe that's it, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Bailey. Thank you, Rebecca. I know it's a lot of hard work and you're probably disappointed, but in the interest of keeping the town informed, I think this is a good move for all of us. All right, calendar, April 19th Selectmen's meeting is on Patriots Day. May we reschedule for the 20th, please? Any issues with the 20th?
I'm looking.
Okay,
No, it looks good.
okay. Shelley, you good?
That's good.
Thank you. David? Ethan?
Yeah, it looks good.
Is that good? Okay, we'll move to the 20th. If that's okay, that's good with everybody, 20th, 6 p.m. April 24th is the 5th annual trash pickup day. Everybody should give a round of applause to Tracy Pitt Lavoy for organizing this. It's highly successful. Thank you very much for your work. We should make sure that we call this refuse pickup because we don't want you being called the trash lady.
I joke that that's going to be my legacy for Rangeley.
Thank you very much.
It was the trash
You're very
lady.
welcome.
Great. Other business, remainder of the fire chief evaluation to be completed for personnel file. Please get those to Shelley. Okay, good. I thought I'd hear something. The next four are just for your information only. Grant letter of support for the fire department, the MDOT audit, the grant, and also the election process for Maine Municipal Authority. Any questions or comments on any of those? Clarifications, updates? Okay, select board communication, start with you, Ethan.
No, I'm good this week.
You're on mute, David. Anything you have for us? Nope. Shelley?
When are we going to get our audit? Do we have an update on that?
Mr. Chair, yes, the audit is close. Rebecca and I have been communicating with the auditors. I think we would have it by the 20th. Does that sound reasonable, Rebecca, for the next meeting?
Yes, you just got, yeah, we just got updated email this afternoon. We just have to review it and Joe has to sign off on the draft and then you would have the final copy.
So it'll take me a little bit of time to read that, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Anything else, Shelley?
And that Maine DOT audit, is there something we have to do for any action on that?
So what we'll do is make sure that that item that is noted in there, I think it's 15,000, will be picked up on the next audit.
Okay.
So that's
We
something.
don't have to make a motion or anything like that. We're all set.
That's something
It's
we'll
just
do.
the letter that informs us about it.
FYI.
Okay.
Anything
Thank you.
under communications from the public, Shelley?
No.
Okay, thank you. Cindy?
All set.
And I'm all set. I just thank you all for your participations. We have a couple of executive sessions to go into. Before you all leave, remember, those are boards of selectmen. Some of us are at home, some of us are in other places. Make sure nobody listens in on our executive sessions. Very important. All right, thanks, everyone. I need a motion to go into executive session.
Make a motion, we go into executive session pursuant to MRSA Title I, Chapter 13, Subchapter 1, Section 4056D for labor negotiations.
Need a second?
Second.
Ethan, thank you. Shelley, how do you vote?
Aye.
David?
Aye.
Ethan, aye. Steve, aye. 5-0. We're going in. I'll be right back, guys. Hang on.
I'll be right back as well.
Let's come back in. So you're recording now.
Okay, we'll date 22nd. And we'll go back in as soon as somebody makes a motion.
Lost my agenda.
I make a motion, we go into executive session pursuant MRSA Title I, Chapter 13, Subchapter 1, 405, Personnel Matters, 6A.
Second it.
Second. Give it to Joe.
Moved to second, personnel matter. How do you vote, David? We go back in?
Aye.
Cindy?
Aye.
Aye.
Ethan?
Aye.
Shelley?
Aye.
5-0. Back into executive session. Okay, we'll come out at 8:46. We have a couple of motions to make. We're going to start with Shelley.
Oh, no, I'm not ready for that. I make a motion that the performance evaluation completed by Joe be reviewed with Joe and Steve Philbrick as chair for final review and signature for approval.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? How do you vote, Ethan?
Aye.
David?
Aye.
Cindy?
Aye.
Shelley?
Aye.
5-0. You have one more motion to go, Shelley.
Oh, there's two more, isn't there?
Okay, whatever the number is.
Hang on a minute. I'm gonna get my book. It's in a big clip. Bear with me for a moment. I make a motion to increase, under fringe benefits for the town manager, under 05-03, 457 match, an additional $4,800.
Second.
Moved and second. Any further discussion? How do you vote, Cindy?
Aye.
David?
Aye.
Ethan?
Aye.
Shelley?
Aye.
Aye for me. What was the other motion?
The locomotion.
To approve addendum 1.
Addendum 1.
Make a motion that we approve addendum 1 of the town manager contract dated March 19th, 2021, with the adjustment to number 3 to read $400.
An effective date?
Of, thank you, July 1, 2021.
Do I hear a second?
Still seconded.
Any further discussion? How do you vote, Shelley?
Aye.
David?
Aye.
Ethan?
Aye.
Cindy?
Aye.
Aye. 5-0. Are there any other matters? This has been a Marathon Selectmen's meeting. Thank
Do we make
you
a
all.
motion for Joe to contact the attorney's office?
Oh,
We can, go ahead, we can make a motion, yeah, sure. And before I do my little soliloquy, I'll make sure I check in with Shelley. I apologize. I don't see you moving,
No, I
Shelley.
forgot. We had 4 things and it was supposed to be 3, but that's okay.
Yeah.
I make a motion that we give Joe, Roach Town Manager, permission to contact the attorney's office.
Regarding?
What can we say?
Superior Court
It's
Civil
Superior-
Action Docket Number AP-21-1.
For the purpose of removing his name from the legal proceedings.
From the defendant list.
I need a second.
Second.
So the first will be, the motion will be from Shelley, Cindy, and I. Since we all could.
Oh my God, what time is it? I still haven't had supper.
Yeah, me either.
Okay, David, how do you vote?
All set, aye.
Cindy?
Aye.
Ethan?
Aye.
Thank you. Shelley?
Aye.
5-0. Shelley, is there anything else that we haven't got done?
Oh, I was trying to think of all of them as we were doing it. And there was one extra one, but it's okay. Yeah, I think we're good.
Okay.
Unless she's making a motion for pepperoni pizza, I'm not sure that I can handle another one.
Okay. I need a motion to adjourn, but before you go, thanks everyone. It was a long evening.
Thank you, Steve. Motion to
Thank you.
adjourn.
Have fun fishing.
Thank you. Moved.
Second.
Ethan?
Aye.
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 The group
Aye.
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 5-0. Thank you, Joe.
Drive
Thank
safe,
you.
Joe.
Bye.
Appreciate it. Good night.
Night, guys.
Good luck
Good night.
fishing, Steve. Bye-bye.